Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show. Welcome to another episode of the Chris Hanna Show. Today we're going to talk about how to achieve more, ultimately by doing less. Look, the last couple of years have been really tough for a lot of people, and they've had to struggle. They've fought with having no flexibility or no control over their lives. Some people have been really impacted negatively from a financial perspective. Ultimately, now as the world started to open up, people are wanting to achieve more of the results and the impact that they're looking for. But sometimes they think that they need to work longer and harder. And today's episode is going to be about challenging that to say no more. It's time to work smarter, not harder, and ultimately achieve more by doing less. So I'm going to ultimately be talking about productivity today. I'm going to be sharing some different productivity hacks that actually work. Challenge maybe some of the same tired, ineffective methods to boost productivity that really don't work anymore for some people. We're going to have to focus, obviously, on what matters, though, in the year ahead. If we want to make 2022 your year, it's got to be all about priorities. I've said before on this podcast and other stuff that I've done that there's a difference between being busy and productive, and it's all about priorities. Time is at a premium. And if you focus on priorities, just the tasks that provide the most overall value, that's how you're going to be the most effective and really achieve the results that you're looking for. So if you're looking to try and, achieve more in the year ahead, what are some things that you need to do? Well, there's some common sense stuff that a lot of people will talk about, right? If you want to improve your productivity, you could make sure you follow rules like creating a to-do list or making a schedule, organizing your calendar. If you're maybe in a leadership position, or even just in a position where you can offload some work to somebody else, maybe you want to delegate. You want to find that right level of work-life balance as well. And then there's also some tools out there that, whether it's like project management or task management tools and so on, that you could definitely use as well. The problem is that those common sense ways don't always necessarily lead to the results that you're looking for. They don't guarantee high productivity. So you might need to find ways to boost your productivity in some way. So, as I said before, achieving more doesn't mean, though, that you have to do more. I strongly think that you can actually focus on doing less. And only the stuff that matters, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. I'm really going to give you the secret sauce of really how I found that I've been able to be successful in achieving more, sometimes by doing less. A lot of people have always talked to me about in my career about how fast I'm able to move. I'm able to accomplish more than a lot of people, and I think it's because I have this relentless focus, this rigor about me that just is all about going all in and doing any task that I can as quick as I possibly can to maximize my output. So I'm going to give you these productivity hacks that I've learned throughout my career that have really helped make sure that I'm focused on value-added tasks and achieving more at an incredible pace. First, you got to follow the 2-minute rule. If it takes more than 2 minutes to do, obviously take care of it immediately. There's no point in having small tasks left hanging around. We're very much guilty of putting off stuff that actually could be quite easy to do. So again, if it takes less than 2 minutes, just get it done. That's the best way to move forward. Another thing I think that's an important productivity hack is around deadlines. The shorter the deadline that you put on yourself and others, the faster, obviously, you're going to be expected to accomplish that task, but you're actually going to be speeding yourself up. Sometimes we give ourselves too much time, too much of a longer deadline, and we start to procrastinate. So when you set short deadlines for yourself, it ensures that you complete only what's needed and nothing more. Obviously, you got to make sure that the deadlines are semi-realistic, but even if they're not really perceived to be realistic, still set them very short, because that's going to push you or somebody else that you're working with to move at a faster pace. Another thing that's so important when you talk about productivity, especially in today's world with so many people working remotely, is that you're going to want to invest in the right technology to support you. One simple investment is having multiple monitors. Screen real estate is vital. If you've got a second or third monitor, it's going to improve your productivity. Add in a docking station, and you're all set with all the connections that you need to make sure that you are as productive as possible. Now, when you look at that productivity, though, it's important to make sure that you're setting goals the right way. And by goals the right way, I mean that you're setting goals that are really only 30 days out. In today's world at this point, it is really hard to start to plan too far ahead. You can have the big goals that you want to achieve for the year, and I absolutely think you should, and there's a lot more I can talk about in this area, but when you're really trying to break goals down, operate in 30-day cycles for any goal, any initiative that you're tackling. It's a better time frame to work with, I find. There's less of a chance that you're going to start something that ultimately results in wasted effort as well. It's important to make sure that you're prioritizing important work first. What do you actually need to accomplish? Now, you focus on no more than 2 to 3 tasks that you want to achieve, but we do know that other distractions will inevitably pop up. If you tackle too much, there's a good chance that you're not going to be successful. Sometimes people try to tackle too many things. Their list goes on and on and on of what they want to do, but it actually just makes them powerless. They're not able to actually achieve anything on the list. So again, focus on only the top 2 to 3 significant tasks each day, things that you want to achieve. The next thing I think that's really critical and important, and I'm just a huge believer in this, is that you've got to minimize those distractions, interruptions, and ultimately notifications on your phone. Just because there's a beep, a ding, a disruption doesn't mean that it needs to require your immediate attention. Turn off your phone notifications, especially during times when you need to focus, so that you use the time that you have allotted effectively. I will admit, I'm probably pretty hard to get a hold of on the phone because I actually have turned off all my notifications all the time. So my phone, text, social media, I get no notifications that are pushed to me at all. I don't want the distractions of social media app kind of clicking off throughout the course of the day. That's really distracting me from what I need to do. So I go and I use social media, or I check my phone when I need to check my phone. I do not let my phone dictate what I need to do. It's on my schedule and my terms. Another thing I think it's important is that you batch whenever possible. If you've got similar tasks to do, it's critical that you actually just get into the zone and do them all at once. So for myself, I'll sit down and I'll do a bunch of video work all at the same time, or I will focus on podcasts or other content creation all in certain stretches to make sure that I get them done, but also to make sure that I'm getting as much done as possible within a certain time frame. It's easier to do it in a batch than switch between tasks. There's also opportunity to take a look at certain activities that you're doing and say, should I still do this? Do I need to add it to a stop list and ultimately decide that this doesn't provide value anymore? And then once you understand it provides value, just stop doing them. That's critical. That's important. In today's world, we also sometimes need to do a digital reorganization. I do this quite often. At least once a month, I will go through and I will take a look at the way my files are structured. I will look at the way things are set up, whether it's in OneDrive, Google Drive, SharePoint, wherever it's going to be, some of the documents that I have. I will make sure that I'm keeping them organized in a way that makes sense, keeping my email organized in a way that's going to save me time, save me effort. I've always found that the more organized I am, the easier it's going to be to try and find something that I'm looking for, and that saves me time. We rely heavily on email still as a society, and so I think when used correctly, you can set up the right rules to organize your inbox, because the truth is there's some stuff that you don't need to see right away. You create a rule, you can maybe add an exception to ignore the rule if you're listed on the to or the CC, because sometimes you just get grouped into emails that are maybe directed to a bigger audience, but ultimately are not directed just to you. When it comes to that email, though, too, you also have to make sure you set that goal of 0 inbox. Clean up your inbox, delete what you don't need, file stuff away in folders that you might want to keep. But when you have the right rules, like I talked about earlier, and you strive to get to 0 inbox each week, you're going to feel more productive. You don't have all these things kind of piled up. Every week, I try to get to 0 emails in my inbox. I get a lot of emails, but I make sure that it's 0 at the end of the week, so I feel like I start each week fresh, ready to go. Now, when you're working through email, though, there are times you're going to want to rely on templates in terms of responses, because there might be times you're saying the same thing over and over again, whether it's to customers, employees, team members, family members. So if you create templates, it's actually going to save you a ton of time, because you're not typing everything out in its entirety. A templated canned response saves you so much time. Now, speaking of time, though, it's critical that you protect it. Block off your calendar. There are times where you are going to be more effective So align the tasks that really require that concentration to the times of day where you know you can focus. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this in a few minutes, but like protect your time and use it wisely, because if you want to maximize the value that you can bring to anything that you're doing and achieve more, you got to work in your ideal time. One of the things that is often talked about when it comes to personal and professional development is how important it is to invest in yourself, how to pay yourself first. So schedule time for that personal and professional development. I'd say at least each week you should be investing in yourself, if not even every day. If you had an hour a day where you just focused on whether it's a podcast, a course, a video, reading a book, reading an article, doing something to actually improve and grow, it's going to be remarkable, the change and the transformation you're going to be able to go through. There's also times, though, where we need to step away from work. Research shows that taking breaks can increase productivity and improve focus. But there's this myth out there that if you work long hours, you can stay in the zone and you stay focused on the task at hand. There's the whole hustle and grind kind of mentality. Just keep working, like work all hours of the day. But that doesn't make you as effective as you could be. A popular trick that I've really started to dive more into is called the Pomodoro technique. And this is where you focus on work-related tasks for 25 minutes at a time, followed by a 5-minute break. Now, once the break is finished, return for another 25-minute work session. Over the course of an 8-hour day or however long that you're working, this can account for a little less than 6 hours of focused work and a little more of 1 hour of relaxed breaks. These short breaks allow you to rest your brain, decompress, give you renewed stamina when you do return to your work duties. It's also important just like to tidy up that workspace that you have around you too. Whether you got like a messy desk with lots of stuff on it, loose papers, things around you that are going to maybe cause a distraction, it's not going to help you stay focused on the task at hand. So make sure that your desk, your general area is free of clutter. I always think that it's important that if you clean up your workspace a few minutes just before you start your official workday, it's going to make sure that you don't have to take away from your work time and you can start your day on the right foot. Now, so many people are working remotely, and that means they're working inside. But if you have the opportunity, you should get more sunlight. Because you're working in a dark room for hours, it does put that strain on your eyes. Obviously, there's that lasting effect on your health as well. So open up the curtains, use one of your breaks, take a walk outside. Fresh air, a little bit of vitamin D will boost your energy, enhance your creativity, and leave you ready to go and really make you more effective. Another piece that I've found really important, and I think it's one of the reasons why I'm able to move as fast as I can when I'm accomplishing a task. You got to have some music going. At least I find that I personally do. Got to have the right playlist music that keeps you going. I find it so relaxing, but also just like energetic to stay entertained without getting too distracted. If I can just work away to some powerful music. Play some of your favorites. Some people say like, oh, listen to music with no lyrics. I find I do stuff with the lyrics and I'm able to work away quite well. I try and keep up to the beat. I listen to a lot of classic rock, but whatever works for you. Like sometimes listening to music can make all the difference in the world. It also helps distract from some of the background noise that might be around you, depending on your environment. I also think it's important to make sure that you actually reduce your work hours. Productivity is closely linked to your energy in general. So while you might think that, you need to work more hours per week, maybe Monday to Friday, or even on the weekend, it's going to help you get more done. It actually does the opposite over the short term and the long term, because eventually most people end up feeling burnt out. Some people say, oh, I never experienced burnout. Maybe they don't recognize the signs, but I guarantee you a lot of people do. If you decrease your hours and take more frequent breaks, you ultimately might be able to be more productive. I mentioned this kind of earlier, but I'm going to go into a little bit deeper with it. If you organize your schedule around your circadian rhythm, basically you can make sure you're even more effective. Everyone has this rhythm. It's this sleep-wake schedule, and it's different for everybody. Now, a lot of people are working remotely, as an example, and that gives you the freedom to work when you want. But there's times of the day you're not going to feel energetic. Maybe it's at night, maybe it's morning. Some people are early risers, some people are night owls, and they have different times where their body is more effective for them. They're able to think better, move faster, quicker, ultimately just be the best versions of themselves at certain times of the day. So adjust your schedule, maybe move around some meetings, tasks at specific times where you can be most effective. I know for myself, there are certain times throughout the day where I am absolutely probably useless, or I am not as effective as I could be. I will not schedule a meeting between 4 and 5 p.m. if at all possible, because I know that at that time I do not have the mental energy to be as focused and as dialed in as I possibly could be. My preference is always to have meetings more in the morning when I've got more energy than later in the day or at night. There are times where I've had to have important presentations late in the evening, and it absolutely has affected me in ways where I feel like I don't know if I made sense. Am I actually providing the value that I'm supposed to? Am I listening as well as I can? Because there's just a time where I know that it's just not for me. So you got to sit there and know yourself and what times of the day are best for you in terms of what tasks you want to accomplish. The last thing I'll say here when it comes to productivity, achieving more, ultimately by doing less, is it's important to reduce your level of perfectionism. Some people see being a perfectionist as this plus, this strength. But one of the true facts is that it often results in countless hours spent on insignificant details. At the end of the day, it's better for a task to be done than to be perfect. True perfection is impossible, so rather than trying to get hung up on small issues, focus on finishing tasks as quick as possible. Sometimes 80% done is better than 100% done, or at least striving towards that. Sometimes good enough is good enough. So my final thought is this, is that having a productive day is not about just doing a good job. There are so many ways to boost your productivity without draining your energy and taking away from your downtime. But if you combine some of the tips that I've just shared here really quickly, I think that you're going to be able to see that your performance will improve going forward. You'll actually be able to achieve more by making some of these subtle tweaks and ultimately get the results, the impact, and the performance that you want.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Chris Hanna Show. As always, the latest episodes are available to listen and subscribe to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow The Chris Hanna Show on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter for more resources and solutions, including blog posts, toolkits, ebooks, speaking sessions, and more. Visit chrishanna.ca today. We look forward to connecting again with you soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.